Look at this haunting image. His name was John Mainz, a farmer from Minnesota. His crime? Being of German descent during World War I. In a wave of hysteria and hatred, his neighbors dragged him from his home, beat him, and tarred and feathered him. They paraded him through town as a warning. An American citizen, humiliated for something he couldn't control. This photograph became one of the most shocking examples of how fear can turn communities into mobs. 100 years later, we still ask the same question. How far will people go when patriotism becomes hate? Take a close look at this strange weapon. At first glance, it seems like something out of a cartoon, but it's real. This is the Krummlauf, a curved barrel attachment developed by Nazi Germany in 1945. Its purpose? To allow soldiers to shoot around corners without exposing themselves to enemy fire. It sounds ingenious, but there was a deadly flaw. The bullets shattered inside the curve, often destroying the weapon or injuring the shooter. It was a desperate innovation in the final months of World War II, a chilling reminder of how far nations will go when the end feels near. A weapon of survival that turned out to be just as dangerous for those who held it. Look closely, this isn't a human astronaut. It's Enos, a chimpanzee, strapped into a capsule in 1961, just moments before making history. Why risk a human life when you can send a primate into the unknown? NASA chose Enos to test the dangers of space before John Glenn could take flight. 2 orbits around Earth, extreme G-forces, and isolation inside a metal coffin. He didn't know it, but his mission would determine the future of human space travel. When Enos returned alive, the world realized, if a chimp can survive space, maybe mankind can conquer the stars. Look closely at this woman's face. Those markings aren't makeup, they're tattoos, and they tell a story of survival. This is Olive Oatman, photographed in 1857. At just 14, she was kidnapped during a brutal attack on her family while traveling west. Her parents were killed, and Olive was taken by Native American tribes. After years in captivity, she was tattooed as a symbol of belonging to the Mojave people. When she finally returned to white society, these tattoos became a shocking reminder of the cultural clash of the American frontier. Her gaze in this photo, it hides a life torn between 2 worlds and a past she could never erase. What do you think these women are wearing? Some futuristic fashion trend? Think again. This photo was taken in 1939, and those bizarre cone-shaped masks were actually a clever invention to protect faces from snowstorms. No high-tech materials, no luxury design, just raw ingenuity in a time before modern winter gear existed. Imagine walking through a blizzard, your vision clear, your face untouched by biting winds, all thanks to this odd but brilliant creation. It looks strange now, but in the harsh winters of the past, this wasn't just style, it was survival. What if you could freeze love and time every single day? In 1974, Japanese photographer Masahisa Fukaze did exactly that. Every morning, without fail, he photographed his wife, Yoko Wannabe. Not for fame, not for art galleries, but to capture the quiet, intimate moments that made up their life together. Each click of the shutter was a love letter, silent, tender, eternal. Today, these photos tell us something powerful. Beauty isn't in grand gestures, but in the devotion of ordinary days. One picture at a time, he built a love story the world would never forget. Look closely at this picture. 2 men? No, just one, and his imagination. In the 1950s, before Photoshop, before filters, creating something like this was pure magic. This soldier pulled off a stunning double exposure, lighting his own cigarette as if he were 2 people. It wasn't easy. He had to shoot one frame, rewind the film perfectly, then shoot again without moving the camera. One mistake, and the illusion was gone. Why did he do it? Maybe boredom in the barracks. Maybe to prove something to himself. Whatever the reason, this single photo reminds us. Creativity doesn't need technology, just vision, patience, and a spark of genius. Imagine going to the beach for a sunny day and ending up under arrest. This photo, taken in 1922 in Washington, D.C., shows a police officer measuring the length of a woman's swimsuit. Why? Because back then, it was illegal for women to wear bathing suits that didn't cover enough of their legs. The rule? At least 6 inches below the knee. Break it, and you could face a fine or even jail. Picture this: the sand beneath your feet, the sound of waves, and then a man with a ruler deciding if you're decent enough. It's shocking now, but less than 100 years ago, this was real life. It makes you wonder, how many of today's normal freedoms will future generations find just as absurd? May 6, 1937. A crowd gathers in New Jersey, eyes fixed on the sky as the mighty German airship Hindenburg approaches for landing. It's a symbol of luxury, pride, and cutting-edge technology, until, in a split second, the unimaginable happens. A spark, just a spark, ignites the hydrogen-filled giant. In less than 40 seconds, the Hindenburg turns into a fiery inferno. Passengers leap from the burning skeleton, their screams mixing with the crackling flames. 36 lives lost. The disaster is so shocking, it marks the end of the airship era forever. And here's the question: how could something so majestic vanish in smoke so fast? This photo freezes that exact moment, the second when dreams of conquering the skies went up in flames. It's 1947. Life is simple, but this photo? Anything but ordinary. Meet the milkman who wasn't just delivering bottles. He was delivering shockwaves. With one arm, he holds an entire crate of milk, and with the other, a full-grown man, effortlessly lifted above his head like a rag doll. No gym, no supplements, just raw strength built from hard work. Back then, men like this didn't need to post selfies. Their strength spoke louder than words. And here's the real question: was this just a fun stunt, or proof that the strongest men weren't in the spotlight, they were in your neighborhood? This haunting photograph was taken in 1905. At first glance, it might seem like a scene from a horror film, but it's not. This woman is a real patient, a victim of advanced syphilis, back when there was no cure. Before the discovery of penicillin in 1928, this disease spread silently, destroying bodies and lives. Millions suffered like her, often in secrecy, carrying not just the pain, but the social stigma. This image is more than history. It's a chilling reminder of how fragile life was before modern medicine. Today, a simple antibiotic can save what once was a death sentence. This photo was taken in 1931, and it's iconic. On the left, the mind that changed physics forever, Albert Einstein. On the right, the man who made the entire world laugh, Charlie Chaplin. Two legends, worlds apart, yet united at the premiere of City Lights. Chaplin once told Einstein, "They cheer me because everyone understands me. They cheer you because no one understands you." A moment frozen in time, where science and art stood side by side. This chilling image from 1941 captures a man subjected to one of the cruelest punishments in history, tarring and feathering. His body was burned with hot tar, then covered in feathers, creating unbearable pain and a lifetime of scars. But the torment didn't end there. This punishment was designed for humiliation. Victims were paraded through the streets as crowds jeered, laughed, and spat on them. It wasn't official justice. It was mob justice, a violent message to anyone who dared to step out of line. Once common in the 18th and 19th centuries, by the 20th century it was rare, but as this photo proves, it never truly disappeared. This haunting photograph, taken in 1875 at Fort Marion in St. Augustine, Florida, shows a group of Native American prisoners. They weren't criminals, they were warriors, fathers, sons, captured during the so-called Indian Wars after resisting U.S. expansion into their homelands. Their only crime was fighting for their homes, their families, their way of life. Once imprisoned, they were stripped of freedom and identity, forced into assimilation programs, taught English and Christianity, and even had their hair cut, an attack on everything they knew. Behind each face in this photo is a story of resilience, loss, and survival, a powerful reminder of a history that must never be forgotten. Boston, 1919. A quiet winter day turned into chaos when a massive storage tank burst, unleashing a tidal wave of molasses 25 feet high, moving at 35 miles per hour. Streets were swallowed, buildings ripped from their foundations, and people trapped in sticky darkness. Horses drowned, cars were crushed, and 21 lives were lost in what became known as the Great Molasses Flood. The cleanup took months, and even decades later, locals swore they could still smell the sweetness in the air. A disaster so bizarre, it almost sounds like fiction, but it was chilling reality. Harvard, 1900. These young men, dressed in their finest suits, were not just students. They were the intellectual elite shaping America's future. Captured here is the staff of the Harvard Monthly, a prestigious literary magazine that once featured early works of writers who would leave their mark on history. In an era without social media, their words in print were the tweets that moved minds. Imagine the weight of every sentence, the ambition in every gaze. Over a century later, this single photo whispers a powerful truth: ideas outlive time. September 12, 1953. A young senator named John F. Kennedy marries Jacqueline Bouvier in what would become one of the most iconic weddings in American history. Behind this serene image lies a story of power, love, and destiny. Neither of them could have imagined that just a decade later, their lives would be marked by triumph and tragedy. This photograph isn't just a wedding memory. It's the beginning of a legend that changed America forever. This is Chichen Itza in 1923, almost a century ago. The iconic pyramid of Kukulkan, one of the most extraordinary creations of the Mayan civilization, was still partially buried under centuries of jungle and time. Imagine uncovering a structure aligned so perfectly with astronomical events that during the equinox, a serpent of shadows appears to slither down its steps. This temple is not just stone. It's a cosmic calendar, a portal to a lost world of science, ritual, and mystery. And today, it stands as one of the new 7 wonders of the world. This photo takes us back to 1950, inside a small distillery in Mexico, where one of the country's most iconic spirits was crafted, tequila. No high-tech machines, no modern bottling lines. Just raw tradition, wooden barrels, and skilled hands. Every drop was a product of patience and heritage, distilled from blue agave baked in stone ovens and aged in oak barrels. What started as a local drink would become a global symbol of celebration and culture. Next time you sip tequila, remember. Its story began like this, in the heart of Mexico.